Hello, Night Nation. I'm Trace Rocco, joined by Adam Eaton. Welcome into Sons of UCF Live. A little different background for you this week, Adam. Where are you?
Trace, this whole show is going to be screwy. I don't know if my mic's working. You couldn't hear us before the show. We got like 9 people in the green room. I can't touch the buttons. I don't know what's going on here, but I would not miss this show because this is a brutal test for UCF this weekend. We've got to win this game to get off to the right start. So I can't miss this one. But I'm glad to be here from lovely Denver, Colorado.
I feel like we've switched places a little bit. Isn't it that I'm supposed to be in Denver for a show?
I actually like that a lot better than what we have now.
Yeah. UCF football 2-0. They defeated Sam Houston 45-14 this past weekend. Let's put a bow on that one before we transition into TCU talk. What was your biggest takeaway from that night's win?
Yeah, rushing attack, again, is as advertised. We saw another great performance from R.J. Harvey, saw another great performance from Miles Montgomery, and probably some love needed for the offensive line. I mean, we're averaging 419 yards a game. That's not on accident. So probably some love to the O-line. Some early jitters, I think, on offense with penalties, but that got worked out, which I think is good. And this defense, I mean, right now certainly seems and appears to be much improved. Turnovers forced and points off those turnovers, Trace, 2 things we didn't see enough of last year. So after 2 games, I feel really good. The only thing I don't know is how good the opponents we faced are and how much that prepares us for TCU. Luckily, we have experts smarter than us about football to tell us all that coming up here soon. But it's really hard to find things to be super, super mad about after another resounding victory against Sam Houston State.
Improved performance for quarterback KJ Jefferson, but as you said, sort of 2 tune-up games, and it gets real this weekend as conference play begins for the Knights, and we're going to be looking to see what KJ Jefferson can do on the road against this Horned Frog team. During the season at home now, we have team coverage. Andrew Cherico joins me in the press box. He's great at covering the post-game reaction from the opposing team. How about we replicate team coverage on the road by bringing in our guy, Robert, 2 letters, 2 words, who will be joining me this weekend in the TCU experience. And he's going to serve as my taxi. I've already got him on a standby for a 10:20 arrival in Love Field. Robert, are you excited about this weekend, and what are you going to be doing?
I first of all, I'm excited to serve as your taxi. As you know, I don't.
What color am I looking for? Am I looking for any sort of fluorescent blue or?
No. This is Texas. We do black trucks. We don't do some electric blue car with a wind-up key in the back of it.
Robert, will you be having any colorful language like a certain taxi driver we had in Vegas?
Of course, I will be mimicking that driver, and Trace will be enjoying that all weekend.
I need a recording of that, please, Trace. Thank you.
I have the GoPro set up for you.
So, Robert, you're going to be roaming around looking for UCF fans and tailgates?
Yeah, actually looking for both sides. One of the things that I did, I living here in the Dallas area, I get easy access to a lot of the away games for UCF, and I'm so close to everything, and everything is an hour flight from here. And so I went to a lot of the away games last year and had a great experience meeting fans, and experiencing tailgating on these away locations. And so, that's kind of the thought this year is that I would take that experience. I actually wrote a column about it that Adam was gracious enough to publish on the website, and had some good reaction from it. And I'm going to try to replicate that this year in terms of kind of bringing people who are not able to go the sights and sounds of the game experience from the tailgate to the end. So I will be roaming around the tailgate areas. I will be talking to UCF fans. I'll be talking to some Horned Frog fans, those that don't try to harm me, and give everybody kind of an experience of what it's like to tailgate at these locations, because maybe at some point in the future, they might be tempted to get on the road and go themselves. Maybe even one of these days we'll get Mike to Lubbock.
Yeah, good luck with all of that. Well, I'm looking forward to your Do the Night Thing coverage on the road, and perhaps some post-game coverage with the TCU folks as well. Robert, 2 letters, 2 words, live from Texas. I'll look forward to seeing you mid-morning at Love Field.
Yes, sir. Taxi will be waiting.
All right. Thank you, Robert. All right. So team coverage at home and away. We've got you covered on Sons of UCF. Let's transition, Adam, into this TCU game. I think everyone, players, coaches, know the importance of this one. They had the tune-up games. Let's hear from head coach Gus Malzahn on the test that comes in Fort Worth.
This is an impressive group, and our guys see that. I mean, it's an obvious deal, so they understand that, and they're looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to seeing how we compete against these guys. I mean, this is a very, very talented team. I think, like I said, their coordinators are two of the best in the country. Their head coach is one of the best in the country, and this is a big test for us. And we're looking forward to seeing where we're at, on the road for the first conference game.
Adam, let's talk about what Coach referenced there in terms of the coordinators that he mentioned. Let's begin with Andy Avalos, the defensive coordinator, head coach last season at Boise State, and of course went down to the wire in Boise State. Coach Malzahn has some familiarity with him. Gives TCU a little bit more insights into what to expect from Coach Malzahn's offense.
Yeah, I'm certainly not a football savant, but I mean, knowing what the team's going to do is one thing. Stopping is a whole other thing, right? So knowing that we're going to hand the ball to RJ Harvey, I don't think that's groundbreaking. Now, maybe the blocking schemes, how we want to kind of, spring certain holes and lanes for the running backs is going to be important, but it's one thing to know, it's another thing to stop. And I think that's what you have to hope if you're a UCF fan is, obviously, in most of those contests. I think Avalos was the head coach in 21 too, right? When they came to Orlando, Gus's first ever game at UCF. Now, whole different team than we had at this point. But every week in the NFL, I mean, you play two teams, play twice a year. I don't know how much that familiarity stuff really works. If your team's just better, if you execute better, and then knowing what the team's going to do, I think that I don't know how much of a factor that is. But luckily, we have an expert we can ask in a few minutes. But I'm not too concerned about it from that perspective.
Well, then let's shift to offensive coordinator Kendall Briles, that is the TCU offensive coordinator previously at Arkansas, has familiarity with KJ Jefferson, which means, of course, he can give some insight on perhaps some weaknesses in KJ's game, and that might be helpful to coaches.
Yeah, I'll steal what Coach Lounsbury told me before we hit the live button, which was in his mind. I don't want to, I'm sure he'll speak for himself in a few minutes. I don't want to speak out of turn, but unless there's a glaring opportunity that a coach knows that everyone else doesn't, that isn't also much of an advantage. Now, if the coach knows that, hey, this throw can't be made, or you can't see this side of the field, then I think you get worried. But you got to hope that our coaches know what those blind spots are for our quarterback, and we've seen those, and you can game plan to mitigate against that. So I think it's helpful to have familiarity. But look, there's so much tape out there. There's so much film that people can watch. I don't think anyone's going like, man, I didn't know UCF ran the football. Like, I think it's pretty well established what it is offense is going to do. And it's really going to boil down to who can execute better, who can really kind of, be the one to take the game over when the time is there. So I'm not as concerned, and Coach Lounsbury made me feel a lot better about that.
I think there was a great deal of confidence a season ago when UCF fans traveled to Manhattan, Kansas for the opener at Kansas State. And, that didn't turn out very well for the Knights. So now they go into a hostile environment, 45, 50,000 fans. It's a blackout. Hopefully, they're better prepared for that tough Big 12 road environment in prime time on Fox.
Yeah, first, before I get to that, how far we have come, Trace, from a 20,000 seat stadium at ECU on a Saturday night at 6:30 to the other team is now selling out and doing, blackouts and different specific things because they want to beat UCF. How far we've come from being that kind of school. But yeah, listen, I mean, if this team's going to go anywhere, if it's going to have the kind of record that Gus thinks we're going to have and that we hope we're going to have, we're going to have to win games on the road. I think you and I have said this consistently. This is a big one. If you go into TCU and you win this game, you sort of put your flag in the ground about what this team is going to be about, right? So I think, this is the ultimate test, right? And we might as well get a kickoff and get it moving. I think if we want to be the team we want to be, you've got to win this game. You've got to find a way to do that. So if it's 40,000, 60,000, if they're wearing black, orange, green, I mean, you have to go in there and execute better than that. But again, my how far we've come from ECU on a Saturday night with 16 of our closest friends to, what we've seen here at TCU. And plus, I don't know how many of our guys are going to be surprised by this. KJ played in a lot of stadiums in the SEC. RJ Harvey's played a lot of football. Kobe Hudson's played a lot of football. I don't know how bright the lights are going to be for some of these guys overall. Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be loud. Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be annoying. And maybe that schematically causes different things. But I think a lot of the key guys in our team are used to crowds, fan noises, and a sort of a chaotic environment on the road.
Before we bring in Coach Lounsbury, quick segue. It's going to set up a question I have for Coach. The 2024 UCF Hall of Fame inductees class has been announced. Ashley Holder, women's golf, as well as Chris Duffy from baseball, Anne-Marie Blaney, track and field and cross country, Kirk Spearraw, men's basketball head coach. Great interview that the Suns did with Coach Spearraw. And then Shaquem Griffin from UCF football and Mark Giacone from UCF football. And let us now bring in Coach Lounsbury, joining us again this week to talk all things UCF football. And Coach, welcome back to Sons of UCF Live.
Thank you, Trace. Hi, Adam.
Good to see you.
What's up, Coach?
Good to see you.
Mark Giacone, for fans who had not seen him play, maybe saw some old photos, a clip or two perhaps. Why is he in this Hall of Fame class?
He was a real stud for us. He was a great running back, ran for a bunch of yards and did a great job for us. He was, people used to think all we did was throw it, but we didn't. We had Willie English and Mark Giacone, and both of those guys could run it, and they had some help. They had a couple of fullbacks, Perry Belasis and Ron Thau, and a couple other guys that helped them out with good blocking too, and we had good offensive lines back then.
Well, let's segue into this year's Knights team. 2-0 now, Coach. You heard the conversation we were having. Andy Avalos, the defensive coordinator at TCU, formerly at Boise State. Coach Malzahn has some familiarity as well. Kendall Browse, the offensive coordinator at TCU. What do you make of facing some coaches, these coordinators that have some familiarity with UCF?
Well, I think Adam nailed it, really. Everything's on film. They all get a lot of film to watch, and there aren't any real surprises unless you put something in new for that particular week. I don't think anybody is going to be able to just find a secret in what we're doing. I think we are very sound in what we do, just like our opponents are very sound in what they do. So I think familiarity is fine, I think, but I don't think it really has much of an impact. I really don't. Now, what we talked about with KJ Jefferson having been coached by Coach Briles, like I said, and what Adam mentioned, if there was a glaring weakness that we hadn't figured out already, that could be an issue. But again, I think our coaches know what's going on, and they're able to find what KJ can do best, and maybe even better than what Coach Briles was able to find when he had him. So we'll see. But I like the way our team looked this week in practice. I liked everything about the attitude, and none of these guys are going to be wowed by the atmosphere. It's going to be fun. They're all going to be jacked up about it, but nobody's going to be scared about it.
Coach, this may be a silly question, but as you're prepping for a game, is it different preparing for a home game than a road game? Are you doing anything different throughout the week to kind of prepare to going on the road versus playing at home?
Not really. The only issue could be noise, because when you're you're away, the crowd noise can affect your snap count and things like that. But we've been practicing indoors with the sound up to be able to handle that, and that's something you always have to prepare for on the road. So, but no, in general, you try to keep things as much the same as you can and routine. Even, they're in a hotel night before a home game, just like they're in a hotel night before an away game. So I think it's you try to do things better to keep it the same. But, it is different too. It's you don't always know how it's going to affect your players.
Well, Coach, let's talk X's and O's for a second, right? It's no secret UCF wants to run the football, right? TCU knows UCF wants to run the football. Schematically, what can UCF continue to do to have this advantage? Is it as simple as lining up our best set and we have the better players, or are there things, little nuances from a coaching perspective that each week we have to do to continue to keep our running game as potent as we've seen it so far?
Well, you have a base of plays, few plays that you are going to run no matter what. because they're good plays for you, and you got guys that can run them. But every week you want to have a wrinkle or two that might create an issue, either a specific issue for that particular defense or just something new for them that they haven't seen. And Coach Malzahn is about as good as anybody I've ever seen about adding a wrinkle or two and keeping it simple for us, but adding that wrinkle that might trip up the opposing defense. So I think you're going to see we're going to run what we want to run and what we're good at running, but there'll be a wrinkle or two here and there. And the thing you don't always know because you haven't. This is the first time ever TCU has played UCF, so we're not as familiar with the players that they have. I know they have an edge rusher, number 54, he's a really good player. They have two linebackers. The middle linebacker, 57, is their leading tackler, and the will linebacker, number 4, is a really great athlete and blitzes a lot. And then they got a boundary safety that is a real good tackler also and gets down in the box a lot to tackle. So all of those things you find out on film and you see on film, but it's hard to tell sometimes how good is that dude. How good is that dude compared to our dude on the other side blocking him. Same thing with the offense. Their quarterback is a really talented kid in that air raid offense. They've got one running back that's got a lot of carries, who's a solid running back, and they've got 3 pretty good receivers, 88 and 3 and 7 that look really good on film. So how good are they? How fast are they? Again, until we match up with them in the game, we don't know for sure. So that's why you play the games, I guess.
We've seen what the running game can do. We've spoken a lot about it. Let's keep talking about blocking. You mentioned that a moment ago. What are you seeing from pass blocking from the Knights through 2 games?
We have done a very good job overall in pass blocking. We had a bust in that first game early in the game on an assignment, but overall, I think our protection has been pretty solid. Now, it's going to have to be better because TCU has 6 sacks already in 2 games. And like I said, they got an edge rusher, number 54, who's very good. So we're going to have to be at our best in pass protection. But I think those guys work on it hard every day. They do one-on-one pass pro every day, and they have gotten better and better as we've progressed so far this season.
What did you see an improvement from KJ Jefferson? I mean, a lot of Knight fans were nervous after that first game, a little shaky performance, seemed to get into the groove as the game went along, and a little bit cleaner in his performance against Sam Houston.
Well, as we mentioned, I think last week, he was 5 out of his last 6 passes in the first game, which gave you an indication that maybe he was settling down. And then he did a very good job, I thought, in this second game. So I think I just think he's getting more and more comfortable with the players around him and the offense and the play calling, and all of those things are new to him. So I think he's getting more and more comfortable with that. He's a very good player. I mean, a great player, and he can throw it. He's a really tough runner, and that adds a lot to our offense. So I'm excited about seeing how he does. I anticipate him playing well again this week.
Coach, this is
really. I'm sorry. One more thing. We started off in that first drive. I think we had 4 penalties and overcame them all to get a touchdown. And that's not good to have all those penalties. However, the execution was pretty good in order to do that.
Good point.
Coach, I know you spent a lot of time coaching the offensive side of the football. What have you seen from UCF's defense? If I asked you right now, describe UCF's defense, how would you describe what you've seen so far through 2 games?
Aggressive and fast. They are aggressive on defense. They're fast on defense, and they're good tacklers, or at least they have been so far. And I think you'll continue to see that. The addition of the players that came through the transfer portal at safety and linebacker have really made an important adjustment for us as far as speed goes, and I think the aggressiveness that Coach Roof had brought has been a big plus as well. So I think you'll see us continue to be aggressive and to be able to run. And I like what I see with our defense because of that. And they've tackled well.
you mentioned TCU likes to run a bit of the air raid. How does that stretch a defense? What does this force UCF to do defensively to kind of combat the air raid offense?
Well, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Hal Mumme, but Mike Leach and Hal Mumme together were the origin of that air raid offense, and it does stretch. It's just a very complete passing game offense that is simple enough to also keep the run. It's surprisingly simple in the run game too. So it's just a good offense, but they have a tendency to want to throw it more than run it. So if we can stop those completions and put them into tough situations, I think we're going to have a good night.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about defense. On Sunday night with the coordinators, I asked Coach Roof about the sacks through 2 games, and he said, well, look beyond the stats. He said a little bit differently, a little more gruff. Look beyond the stats. The Knights are getting pressure on the other team. What are you seeing from the defensive line? When you just look at the sack tally through 2 games, how much stock do you put in that versus what you're seeing?
I think Coach Roof is right. It's more about, is there pressure on the quarterback than it is just sacks. It's nice to have the sacks, but pressure on the quarterback is the key, and we have had a lot of pressure on that quarterback. I think we're going to just keep getting better in the defensive line, and the defensive ends are relatively young guys that are new guys anyway, that haven't had as many snaps, and I think every time we go out and play, they get more snaps and they get better.
How much are they missing John Walker, or have we not yet noticed it?
Well, we haven't noticed it because he hasn't been there at all yet, but we're missing him. He's a really talented player in the inside, and hopefully those other guys are coming along and getting better and better. I know that Ricky Barber and Lee Hunter have done a great job, and if those 2 guys stay healthy, we'll be okay. But John would be the guy that he was a guy that was rotating with those 2 in the starting group. So it hurts us depth-wise, and it hurts us a little bit in not having as many guys we can rotate in there. But I've seen some good play from those guys. They've been tough. Now we're going to get tested better because it's going to be the best offensive line we face. There's no doubt about that.
All right, Coach, allow me to derail the proceedings so far. We saw 2 penalties in Sam Houston, one against UCF, where the official announced false start, everybody but the center. So a 2-part question for you. 1, how does that happen? And then 2, who technically gets the penalty there? Because it's the center who screwed up, but right. He doesn't get charged with a penalty. How does that work out?
I guarantee you he was charged in the penalty in the film room when they graded the film. But you're exactly right. The center's the one responsible. But and you got to remember, too, there's several times out there when they list whoever had the penalty and they got the wrong number anyway. So it all comes back to the film room and grading the film after the game.
How does that happen, though? Is that miscommunication between quarterback and center? Is that center maybe having the wrong snap count?
It could be a number of things, but usually the center either forgot the snap count or thought it was on something else, or that's usually how it is. So, but we tried to make sure the center knew the snap count so as much as we could.
It seems to be important.
I played center, so I know, if I forgot to snap it, I'll say, I know the snap count was what I was on.
Well, that never happened to you, Coach, I'm sure. There's no chance you ever did that. But
I can't remember. It's been too long ago.
My favorite question for you. So you're in front of the whiteboard, talking to the team before the game. What are the 3 keys to this game for UCF to win?
Offense or defense?
All of the above.
Okay. Both of them, you have to be physical. I think that's number 1. You have to be physical with the other team. You have to be relentless and be physical. Number 2, you have to take care of the football if you're on offense, and you have to cause turnovers if you're on defense. And then the third thing is to execute without having a lot of missed assignments. Missed assignments can kill you both sides of the ball. So I think those 3 things, number 1, be physical. Number 2, take care of the football or cause the turnover. And number 3, eliminate missed assignments and foolish penalties, because those kinds of mental mistakes really cost you, and sometimes it doesn't show up right away, but it's very costly. You got to execute.
And for all we talk, right, it's get off the field on third down defensively. It's create turnovers, win the turnover battle. And what I thought was good about the Knights on Saturday at against Sam Houston was that they scored points off of the turnovers they created. That's going to be something else to look for.
I agree. That's an excellent point, Trace, and that's really good. But usually, if you're executing well, those things happen, and that's what I'm talking about missed assignments and foolish penalties. If you can eliminate those kinds of things, your execution is going to go up, and then you're going to score off turnovers, and you're going to do things like you're supposed to do them.
Coach Malzahn has talked so much about these games, especially in conference play going into the fourth quarter, last possession, close game. You expect another back and forth kind of game here in Fort Worth?
Yeah, I mean, going in, the two teams are kind of mirrors of each other. Haven't played anybody great. Stanford was not a good football team, I didn't think, when I watched that game. But we really both had years last year that we didn't like and lost some close games, both teams. So, this is going to be who can execute, who can be physical, and who takes care of the football. Those are the three things I think are critical.
Going to be a good one Saturday night, primetime on Fox. Coach Lounsbury, thanks for being with us again this week on Sons of UCF Live.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it all the time. Appreciate what you do.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you, Coach. All right. Pretty clear, Adam. Now the Knights just have to execute everything Coach Lounsbury laid out.
Yeah, be physical, keep the ball, don't make sloppy penalties, and I think that's the thing, right? I think UCF has enough talent that they can go against other teams. It's can you not shoot yourself in the foot, and I think that's the key, especially on the road, Trace. I mean, those kind of things are killers. Penalties, not getting off on third down, turnovers, right, missed opportunities, and then those are killers on the road. Those are plays. If they're the basketball determines like a 50-50 ball, those are 50-50 plays that UCF has to have go in their favor.
And let's not forget special teams. Colton Boomer with the big field goal last week. Let us not forget that he had the big field goal on the road at Boise State last year. Could come down to special teams as well. New segment on Sons of UCF Live. For as long as I'm ahead of UCF Mike, it's the Pick'em update. Mike up to 90th from 98th last week, and I have clear distance between me and him. So that's a new segment on Sons of UCF Live. As long as I am ahead of Mike.
This is not going to end well for you. I just feel, once again, Trace, I try to help you. I really do, but this is not going to end well for you.
But let us talk about what's going on in the Big 12. Time now for Jeff Allen.
The Big 12 went 9-5 in out-of-conference play last week, and in a conference matchup that didn't count as a conference game, Utah defeated Baylor. This week has 13 games on the docket, including tonight's game that has Arizona State visiting Texas State. That's currently in progress on ESPN. Tomorrow night, we get two Friday night affairs. Kansas hosts UNLV, 7 o'clock on ESPN. And in another of those conference matchups that doesn't count as a conference game, 20th ranked Arizona visits number 14 Kansas State at 8 o'clock on Fox. On Saturday, Cincinnati visits Miami of Ohio, 12 noon on ESPNU. Texas Tech welcomes North Texas, 12 noon on FS1. Number 13, Oklahoma State makes the short trip to Tulsa, 12 noon on ESPN2. In the backyard brawl, West Virginia is at Pitt, 3:30, also on ESPN2. Number 12, Utah battles Utah State, 4:30 on CBS Sports Network. Baylor entertains the Air Force Academy, 7:30 on FS1. Colorado hits the road to Fort Collins to take on Colorado State, 7:30 on CBS. In the Battle of Houston, the Cougs take on Rice, 8 o'clock on ESPN+. BYU hits the road to Wyoming, 9 o'clock on the CBS Sports Network. And 21st ranked Iowa State is on the bye this week. I'll be hopping on a plane in the morning to take the trek to Dallas-Fort Worth in the Metroplex to watch the Knights take on TCU in what will be the lone conference game. Saturday night, 7:30 on Fox. I'll be at the Charge On tailgate and sitting in section 411, so say hello if you see me. Here's hoping for a Knights win, so I won't be in a foul mood when I go see my Cowboys play against the Saints on Sunday. With your Big 12 Minute, I'm Jeff Allen.
Find Jeff Allen. Where's Jeff Allen?
Stalker alert here. As a Cowboys fan, Jeff, you're going to be in a bad mood. I can tell you this right now.
Yeah, it could be a long weekend between those two. Jeff, message me. We'll connect while we are in Fort Worth. All right, we talked with Coach
He'll be in
Lounsbury.
section 411, Trace. You can find him.
Just find him.
You know where to find him. There you go.
We learned and talked a little bit more about UCF through 2 games. Let's learn a little bit more about TCU, the host of Locked On Horned Frogs. He is Stephen Simcox. He joins us now on Sons of UCF Live. Stephen, welcome in.
Well, thanks, guys. It's good to be here. I enjoyed hearing from Coach there in the last segment, and I'm glad I can come on and immediately just bring the football knowledge down on this show. That's a good thing that I can bring to the table.
I'll tell you what, though, you had the favorite promo that any one of our guests have ever said. Join me on the show and see if my kids interrupt me on the show.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I got 4 of them. They're watching TV right now. We believe in screen time. I know some people don't. They're better people than me. So hopefully nobody notices that I made the trek upstairs, and I think we'll be okay. But yeah, this is fun, guys. I'm excited about this football game, and it's good to be joining you and talking with you about it tonight.
All right, let's talk about TCU through 2 games. Coach Lounsbury said maybe not a good Stanford team, but that was a road win for TCU. How do you assess what you've seen from the Horned Frogs through 2 games?
I mean, I think they've done what they're supposed to do for the most part. They took care of LIU last week, Long Island. That was a team with not a lot of firepower. The Stanford game was kind of odd. They got off to a slow start. I do feel like Stanford's better with Troy Taylor in year 2, but I don't think they're a great football team. I still give TCU credit for going on the road and winning on a Friday night. I think that's tough when you start the season with a Power 4 opponent. But offensively, they've been pretty efficient. The big change has been on defense. Last year, they really struggled with Joe Gillespie at defensive coordinator. The whole point of his defense was to keep everything in front of you and, rally the football, make tackles, make teams methodically march down the field. And they were still giving up a lot of big plays and also letting teams kind of march methodically down the field and score. So they needed to do something to change that. They've gone to a defense with Coach Avalos that brings a lot more pressure, has a bigger emphasis on speed and athleticism. And so when I got to talk to the Long Island head coach last week, and I asked him, when you turned on the tape, what did you notice? And he said, honestly, in my mind, I'm thinking I'm watching a Sonny Dykes team with Kendall Browse as the OC. I'm going to see a high-octane offense. I'm going to see them run a lot of tempo, throw the ball all over the place. But he said the thing that stood out to me was the defense was just playing with bad intentions and, swarming to the football. So I think that's been the biggest source of optimism so far this year. And we'll see if it continues against, an offense that has been really good, especially on the ground, with what UCF has done for the first couple of weeks of the season.
Yeah, let's stay there for a moment. How do you think TCU's defense matches up with UCF's running game?
Well, it'll be intriguing to see. They've been good against the run so far. I don't think they've seen the combination of speed and power, obviously, that they're going to see on Saturday. I'm a little bit concerned about KJ Jefferson making plays off schedule because they struggle with that against Ashton Daniels, who can move around a little bit, Stanford's quarterback in the season opener. And it's really a defense that's more predicated on getting after the passer. So I'm curious to see what they do. I imagine they're going to stack the box, but I know Gus does a lot of different things to keep defenses on their toes. So the guys that are going to be keys for me in this ball game from TCU side, Johnny Hodges, linebacker. I really feel like he should wear a neck roll. Like he feels like a 90s linebacker. He's just like that kind of dude that looks like he has bad ideas in mind when he's on the field. And he's not the fastest guy, but he can fill the gap and really come up and make plays in the run game. And then the defensive line, I was telling Adam yesterday when I had him on my show, I was looking at the UCF highlights and I'm like, geez, these guys look big. Like that O-line looked really large. And then I was looking at the measurements and I was like, 6'10", 6'9". Are they building like an Olympic basketball team? Like, why are these guys so, not only hefty, but just tall? And it's going to be a huge test for the front seven for sure. But I think they'll have a lot more success in forcing KJ to throw than, New Hampshire and Sam Houston did. And so I really feel like it could come down to they like to play a lot of man coverage with their 2 corners, JT Broughton and Lamarian James. So how do those guys, stand up against the receivers and then the running backs that Gus likes to get involved in the pass game?
Stephen, tell us more about Josh Hoover. When he's playing well, what is he doing well? When he's struggling, though, what are some areas that he still kind of has to improve on?
I mean, the thing he's done a lot better is he's just taking care of the football. He's been really efficient with his completion percentage. And honestly, like through the first 2 weeks, there haven't even been that many dangerous throws. Now they've set it up to where, he can thrive like that because they're doing a lot of RPO stuff, a lot of quick game. So it's kind of one read and get the ball out and let your playmakers make things happen. But I think he's done a great job of just taking what the defense gives him. So last offseason, Chandler Morris he was going to be the guy going into the season. And Josh Hoover was the backup. And I did a couple shows where I was like, if Chandler Morris gets hurt, because he had a history of getting hurt, like surely they can't go into the season with Josh Hoover as a backup quarterback. Because he was a 3-star guy, didn't know a lot about him. Shows how much I know about football, obviously. But he came on the scene about midway through the year because Chandler got hurt, also just because the team was struggling. And almost immediately, I think his biggest strength is the team just seems to rally around him. Like he's got those leadership qualities. They like playing for him. There just seemed to be a better vibe around the program when he was there. But he threw a lot of interceptions last year and limited action. So I think they've simplified this offense for him, and they've tried to challenge him to say, hey, don't give up possessions. And he's done a really good job of that. When he's been asked to stretch the field, they've had some success. But I'm not exaggerating. Like it's really only been 6 or 7 throws so far of over 20 to 25 yards. Like everything has really been short and intermediate to this point.
You mentioned vibes. What are the vibes around TCU? Obviously, 2 years ago, playing for national championship. Last year, obviously, disappointing season. Coming into this year, 2-0 already, but against Stanford and LIU. What are the vibes just overall around this TCU football program?
I think cautious optimism would be a good way to phrase it. Last year was such a letdown, and I'll apologize just to the nation for allowing Colorado to become a bigger story than they needed to be by immediately losing to the Church of Dion in week 1 last year. That was super disappointing. And then we let that, go on for about a month afterwards. But that was a really big shot to the gut. And honestly, I don't think they recovered that well. And Sonny Dykes was pretty transparent in the offseason about, we were really happy with how year 1 went. And it had been a long grind to get there. And he said, I probably gave the guys too much time off, like after that really disappointing national title game. And we were sort of behind the 8 ball in preparation. And then I think they didn't figure the quarterback thing out. They had some struggles on defense. But to his credit, he's addressed a lot of the issues. They went and got a new defensive coordinator. They made the decision to stay with Josh Hoover. And I think they invested in players around him through the transfer portal that can allow him to be successful. And so they look better, but Saturday will be a huge, I guess, test or barometer for, okay, is this thing really turning and going in the right direction, or is this possibly another year where you're fighting for bowl eligibility and you're not a serious contender in the Big 12 race?
Game, of course, could come down to a kick. What's your confidence in special teams for TCU?
Well, Kyle Limmerman, he comes over from South Lake Carroll, which is one of the many powerhouse programs in Texas high school football. And he was, for whatever this is worth, he was ranked the #1 kicker in the nation. I don't know who does kicker rankings. I'm not sure what association spends their time doing that, but he was the guy. He's missed 2 kicks though so far this year. And I think he's got a big leg. It's just about, kind of handling a new situation, handling pressure. I would be kind of nervous. I think Kyle's a really talented guy, and I feel like he's going to be a great kicker for TCU through his career. But at this point, I would feel a little nervous if it came down to a 45-yarder, even at home, with a chance to win the game.
Describe the game day atmosphere. Knights fans traveling out to Fort Worth, myself included, what to expect?
Well, it should be good because it's a night game. Gives plenty of people time to hydrate, The tailgate scene is located really close to campus, so the parking situation is not great. But if you can navigate that, there's plenty of opportunities to kind of go through and see what the deal is. If you're bringing your family with you, Frog Alley is really cool. It's right by the stadium, and they just have games and different giveaways and things that are going on. It's a really cool atmosphere. It's literally right in the middle of the heart of campus for TCU, and The student section really showed out last week. It's a blackout, so I think it's going to be electric and fun, and I'm excited to see UCF fans come in because I've learned a lot about your fan base this week. They've been very active on social media, just greeting me and kind of telling me how smart I am. I think that's what they've been doing. So I've enjoyed getting to know them.
Tell us a little bit about Locked On Horned Frogs. I listen to Locked On Cubs, so I'm used to that daily. You're doing a daily show? Is that what it is?
Allegedly, yeah, we're doing a daily show. I would say it's easier this time of year, right? Like we got live content that we can put out every day, but no, we're 5 days a week. We'll have a live post-game show on Saturday after the game. So if you want to stay up and stick around, that's great. You can subscribe on YouTube, and if you listen to podcasts the old-fashioned way, just the audio version, then we're available there on all your favorite platforms as well.
10 minutes. The kids were pretty good. What's their ages?
Oh man, 8, 6, 3, and 2. Nailed it. Killed it.
Good for you. God bless. Steven Simcox, host of Locked On Horned Frogs. We appreciate you joining us on Sons of UCF Live.
Hey, thanks so much, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Steven.
Thank you. All right. So, Adam, we've talked about this on all the platforms throughout the week around the kingdom, the Suns pod. What's your gut feeling telling you about this one?
Nice win, Trace. Nice win. I think it's a close one. I'm going to go, give me 34-27. I think it's a close game. Yeah, I think I don't know what these defenses have seen yet. I think there's going to be a little bit of a back and forth. I think we've heard a lot about offense on both sides of the football. So I'm going to go 34-27. Give me a UCF win. Yeah, I think it'll be close. I think it's a fourth quarter game where you'll be sitting on the edge of your couch trying to figure out what's happening, and you'll be in the press box, as we heard from Hilo, yelling and screaming at people. So I think it'll be closer than we want, but I think UCF comes out with a victory.
How important is it to go into a bye week and preparing for Colorado with a win and a 3-0 record? Oh, I don't want to do this next week if we're talking about a loss.
No. Well, we've said it all off season long. So credit to the Sons of UCF live show here. If you win this first game on the road at TCU, it really does set up you to have an opportunity to go on a bit of a run here when you look at the first part of UCF schedule. But it also kind of, I think a lot of people are talking about the Big 12 being a bit of a logjam. UCF's name is in that 4, 5, 6 category in most of the rankings and publications and pundits. This kind of gives you an opportunity for UCF to really kind of prove this is not this year's UCF team. I thought it was funny at the presser, Trace, on Monday. I think it was Randy Pittman who said it, so keep me honest on this, but that they really want to get out there and kind of get that bad taste of last season out of their mouth, that they're still really mad about last year, how things went, and they want to get back out in the field. They want to get onto a road environment. They want to play a Big 12 team, and they want to showcase that last year was not who they are. I like that grit, man. I like that grit. I hope they bring that to the field. I hope Gus brings the good plays and not the bad plays this week. But I'm going to be optimistic. I mean, because here's what I heard from Steven. They're in the exact same spot we're in, where they're kind of like, we don't know what we have. Our team's a little bit like this, right? So we're not facing some sort of juggernaut here on Saturday. You've got two teams that appear to be relatively even matched, but I'll take UCF's talent over most talents in the Big 12 any day of the week. So give me my Knights.
Yeah, no disrespect to TCU, but it feels a little bit better. You like your chances a little bit better than when they traveled to Manhattan to face Kansas State a season ago. All right, let us delve into some news and notes.
Hey, this is Johnny Richardson. Let's go around the kingdom.
I'd like to see a lot more Johnny Richardson, too. I never feel like enough of Johnny Richardson in any game.
I feel bad. He's like the forgotten running back, right? It's all like, look at RJ and Miles and Penny Boone, and we forget about poor Johnny Richardson.
He's so fast. Women's soccer opening now with Houston. 4-0 lead for the Knights in the waning moments of that one out at the UCF Soccer Complex. Big 12 opener looking to defeat Houston, and they're well on their way. 2-1-2, the current record, shaking off a terrible loss in the last few moments in Tampa against the Cows this past weekend. Currently ranked number 10, men's soccer. They drop their first game of the season, lose 4-3 at FIU. They had beaten UC Irvine 5-1. So not really a quality loss for the Knights. They return home. They host the Cows in their fluorescent green uniforms Sunday at the soccer complex at 5. Volleyball off to a 4-0 start. They head to Tallahassee. Still haven't had a home match. They play FAU on Saturday and then FSU on Sunday. The latter of that, a more serious test for the Knights, but off to a 4-0 start. Men's basketball, Johnny Dawkins promoting assistants Robbie Lang and Mamadou Indai to associate head coach. mentioned that we've been talking about this matchup with TCU all week. We did so on this week's Around the Kingdom with Eric Lopez and myself. Let's hear a clip from that.
If teams cannot stop UCF's running game, then he doesn't have to be more than a game manager. I don't think you have to force the throw if you don't have to. That being said, you brought him in to win games on the road, which is what you've struggled in UCF, right? That's been the – can this team win on the road? You've got a guy here that's played in tougher – I don't care. Pick whatever Big 12 environment you're this year, Trace. None of them are as difficult of any of the SEC places that KJ Jefferson has played.
Yeah, find the latest episode of Around the Kingdom on the Sons of UCF YouTube channel. I could not agree more with Elo's point there. They brought KJ Jefferson in to win games like this, not games like New Hampshire and Sam Houston. Let us see what he can do. It is that time again.
So it's a mailbag. So what?
So what? Do you know whose mailbag that is?
It's that time again. Time to open the Brian W. Peterson Sons of UCF mailbag.
I'm too sexy for my shirt.
Yo!
Because I don't really like any of these guys. None of them are my guys.
Maybe a pony. Giddy up.
Oh, hell yeah.
I'm surprised you haven't added to it. I keep expecting.
I've been busy. I need to get Clay in there. I'm sure Clay's got a bunch of moments I can throw in. I need to get Clay in there.
You mentioned off the top of the show that you were a little disoriented. This is the first show, perhaps, that you haven't been running all of the things. It's because
I'm not
Clay
pushing the ball. I'm pushing some of the buttons.
Clay, bring yourself into the show, young man. There's Clay Pasco. One of the co-hosts all night.
Yellow, how are we doing, guys?
We're going to throw you into the mailbag. Thanks for doing a great job and helping us out. We weren't quite sure how that Wi-Fi connection was going to go from Adams Palatial Hotel in downtown Denver, and you've been doing a great job with this.
Shout out to the Indigo. Way to go, Hotel Indigo.
Yeah.
All right. We'll throw these questions out to both of you guys. I'll weigh in on ones I like. Mr. Matt Dolan, fill in the blank. TCU purple and white having a blackout versus a black and gold team is, I just want to say, when is UCF black and gold anymore? Black and white this week. But Clay, what do you say? What's the fill in the blank on this one?
Fine. I don't seem to be as mad about it as everyone else is. You know,
UCF
the reverse
Mike,
orca.
pretty fired up about this. If he needed something on a Thursday to be upset about it.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, Brian was fuming. I don't know. Like, I thought he was gonna pass out. He seemed so mad, from typing about the orcas. Now we have the reverse orcas for the away game.
Reverse orcas. Adam,
reverse orcas.
You like them?
Literally after the kickoff, I have no idea what color we're wearing. So to me, it does not matter. Yes, I'd love a little bit more gold in there, but all teams wear white at some point in time. But for TCU, good. Again, I think it shows where UCF's at, right? Where we're going to do this special thing. We're going to black out the stadium. We want a raucous environment. Again, we've come a long way from. I was reminded apparently ECU Stadium is bigger than TCU Stadium. I don't know if that's true. So maybe I'll just replace that with Temple then, because that's a more downtrodden program.
Does this show have a fact checker and it's not you?
Dolly, Robert, somebody, Mario, somebody help us out.
At Andrew_Cherico. Adam, what's the worst loss? Losing at TCU or losing at home to Colorado?
In true Trace Trelko fashion, I'm going to take the cop out. TCU because it's the next game.
Clay?
It's the Colorado game. Everyone's going to be watching that. No matter how bad Colorado might be, there's going to be 50 million people watching it. If we lose to a mid-Colorado team at home, that's way more embarrassing than playing at Fort Worth on the road at night.
At @blackgold_Ed, always coming in with a question on Sons of UCF Live. Beating 2 warm-up teams, as Eric Lopez would say, in scrimmages gives Night Nation a false expectation heading into TCU, Clay. It's some false. I don't feel like there's any false expectations. I think we're all rightfully nervous about a road game in this league.
We are all anxious. I listen to the Pegasus podcast. I know, but
I
know. I know. Earlier today.
The show's on the network, Clay.
He's out.
No, but they were making me anxious, and then all this talk on live. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to sleep tomorrow. I don't think that's gonna happen. I'm very nervous about this game.
Adam at TigerPicks_. The opening line on this one, TCU favored, that it's shifted back to UCF. I always thought UCF would be a bit of an underdog in this game. Does it surprise you? Close line.
Not really. I mean, again, I think both these teams haven't really been tested. I don't know if you know what you have. Typically, the home team gets a bit of a cushion, right? So I wasn't super surprised to see them favored. It's interesting to see the money moving now, right? I think that tells you something. But the opening line wasn't surprised. Typically, I think when teams are evenly matched and you don't know it early this season, you typically default the home team.
I see. I don't think you flashed it on the screen. The comment there it is. Is Clay from Pasco County?
I am from Atlanta Lakes, Wesley Chapel area.
And I was not born there, but I grew up in Newport Richey, the other side of the county. At Brian W. Peterson, what's your top concern regarding this matchup this weekend? The offense for UCF, TCU's defense, home field advantage for the Horned Frogs, UCF looking ahead to Colorado. Brian, you're worried about a lot of things.
Yeah,
the correct answer is Gus doing Gus things. This has been a vanilla offense and playbook. Yeah, he's giving us a bunch of categories, but at least there was
like 7 questions here, Brian. Tighten it up. Lock it up, Brian.
Gus doing Gus things. Vanilla playbook, right? Oh, Gus is jonesing for something. And will that backfire in a close game? Clay, what are you most worried about? Anything beyond the 17 things that Brian has listed?
I think I'm honestly worried about the defense more than offense. I think we're going to put up some points, but Joshua's a pro-style quarterback, as you were talking about, air raid. He can throw the ball up. Will he expose our corners? Will he expose our linebackers? Is he going to throw all over us? That's my biggest concern right now.
Yeah, another nervous Nelly right here. Adam at Fave Scrub. Will Gus open up the playbook this week on TCU? This is a given. Is there money? Is there a bet you could place on this one? Because I'd like to throw a little money on that.
Well, again, Coach Lounsbury told us, right? You maybe don't show everything, and you add some wrinkles for a game too. So I can imagine he said Gus is the best wrinkler, I think, that he's ever seen in this juncture. So I'm assuming there'll be a wrinkle or two that Gus will throw in here.
What does Arizona State coach Kenny Dillingham think about Gus? Adam, you were there in Las Vegas.
I'm going to pull that clip. Yeah.
Square peg,
translated
round hole,
loosely, something like that.
Yeah. Robert, we saw him off the top of the show at 2 letters, 2 words. Now that we're in week 3, which of the following games is going to be toughest for UCF? At TCU, Colorado at home, or at Florida? I still think it's tough to win in the Swamp.
Yeah, I agree. We're going to me. I agree. And the Swamp. I mean, look at the Texas. We were all kind of convincing ourselves that Florida's this bad team. I'm still not completely convinced of that yet. Yeah, they played a good Miami team. They played a high school team pretty much in Sanford. Texas A&M, this game that's this weekend, I believe is at 3:30. That's going to be the real test. That's going to show us. I have Florida winning that game, beating Texas A&M. I think Connor Wegman on A&M sucks. I feel like A&M sucks. That's going to be a cushion win in the Swamp for Florida. So, yeah, I'm still scared of that game.
Adam, which of these worries you the most?
I actually will say Florida too, right? I think for as much as they've been a bit of a dumpster fire early in the season, we know they have talent on their team. It'll be an in-state game, so there'll probably be a little bit of juice on both sides. So I'll go Florida for right now.
At UCF Guy 23, are alma maters outdated due to NIL and transfer portal? Should players be expected to sing it at the end of the game? Clay, do you stay till the end of the game and sing the alma mater?
I don't even know the alma mater for being
shame.
I don't know.
The words are on the board, Clay. They're on the board.
I know.
You can just read them.
I'm looking around like, am I supposed to? I mean, I haven't graduated yet, so like technically, like, am I even an alumni? Like, do I? What's the rule on singing the alma mater? What's the rule?
Adams, should the players be expected to sing it? Does it mean anything? Is it an outdated concept at this point?
I don't think it's outdated, but like I don't look at the alma mater for the players. I think it's for the fans who are there and for the alumni. Like the backup cornerback wants to go get off the field and go see his mom and dad. I'm not going to freak out because he didn't rise at night or something. So I'm fine with that. I think it's more for the fans, more for the alumni to kind of have that opportunity, that moment. If a player wants to skip it, then what are you going to do?
Clay, you all right over there? I saw you like snapping your neck.
I did. Some tension. Looking down for too long.
At CamCox_21. Is there a possibility by the end of the season RJ considered the best UCF running back over Kevin Smith? Segue, Adam. New article up on sonsofUCF.com by one Brian W. Peterson.
Which apparently the photos aren't loading on, so we'll get back to that in just a second here. Listen, I like RJ Harvey. I think when it's all said and done, he's on the Mount Rushmore of UCF running backs. But I think he's always going to be behind Kevin Smith. Like I think number one is spoken for right now. I think number 2 is up for grabs. I think that'll be RJ Harvey. I know Clay Pasco just probably his heart just skipped a beat there, but I don't think you can pass 24K. I just don't think you can do it.
All RJ Harvey all the time? Clay?
Oh, yeah, 100%. If RJ Harvey is the difference maker in a key game, Florida beating Utah, if he puts up, I say 1,200, 1,300, yards. I know I wasn't I was alive for Kevin Smith. I wasn't paying attention to UCF football. I was like 4 years old at
What
the time.
the heck was wrong with you? You were 4? You weren't.
Yeah.
What?
Kevin Smith, I have respect for him, but he played lower comp, at the end of the day.
Check out that NC State run. But anyway.
I know. I'm just saying he played one good NC State team.
Oh,
I'm just saying,
all right.
RJ Harvey. Give me RJ.
Emptiness 4, Adam. Surprising lack of snaps for Penny so far. I'm not worried about it. There's 4 guys. They weren't going to all get equal touches. He's rested. He's still gonna be a factor. He's gonna come in.
Yeah, I guess initially, right? Because I think when we thought about the 2-headed monster running backs, right, we didn't have Miles Montgomery as the second head of that monster. But we heard from the coaches all off season that Miles had a great camp, had a great fall camp, and so not surprising to see him getting a little bit more, more of the carries on that side.
At Golden Knight _2. I know Gus is a run-first offense, but do you feel this team is too one-dimensional, the lack of passing game on display? Again, they weren't trying to show much. They didn't need to pass the ball. I think we would have liked to have seen more passing so that we'd had a better feel for KJ Jefferson. But as Gus says, he's got a lot of games under his belt, right? I guess we're going to find out if they need to pass the ball in order to win or keep the chains moving. We're going to see from KJ Jefferson tougher competition. At Tan the Man, what is the minimum grade you think KJ will need to play at for the Knights to win? He's got to be good. He doesn't have to be great.
I don't know if this is true. I don't have access to Pro Football Focus, but according to the interwebs, which isn't always correct, in 21 and 22, KJ's average grade was about a 91.7, I think, which ranked him in like the top 10, 15 players, right? That's kind of in the elite category. I don't know that we need 90. It would be great if he's going to give me 91. I'll take it. But give me like 85, and I think we're in a good spot. I don't know. I mean, I'd love 91, but I'll take 85.
Was that his video game rating, Clay? Was an 85, right? Is that
an 88, I believe he's in the video game. Yeah.
Another question that he didn't ask again this week, but Tan the Man asked it like 2 weeks ago, and I punted the question. He wouldn't allow 5 on a scale of 1 to 10. What was your confidence factor in UCF winning on the road? I, of course, want to go with 5, but he won't. He says no 5. Adam, where you at? Confidence factor.
Any road game or against TCU?
This one.
I mean, I picked him to win already, so I'm going to go with a 9.5.
9.5. 6. Clay?
7. I'll take a 7. I'm confident, but I'm also nervous at the same time.
Yeah, I'd go 5, but he said no. At the Dr. Drew, Clay, is next year's quarterback on the roster now?
That is a great question. In this state of college football, I'll say yeah. I'll say Ja'Cory Brown sticks around. We haven't seen enough out of him for another program to come throw a bag at him yet, I feel like. So, yeah, I feel like Ja'Cory stays.
Adam, Gus likes what's behind door number 2. He wants to go into that portal so bad.
Is that a Shannon Sharp situation? No, I think we've heard a lot about Ja'Cory Brown. We've heard a lot about Ja'Cory Brown this offseason.
We've already got a guy that was fired this week on this show. We don't need more problems.
It's fair. I think Gus talks a lot about Ja'Cory Brown, how much he likes his game. I think he wants to give Ja'Cory a chance. So I think, to your point, Tracy, he's going to flirt in the portal, but I'm not quite sure that he's going to be as successful as he wants. So I'll go with Clay. Give me Ja'Cory as QB1.
I do not think so. At Emptiness 4, another one from Michael. Thoughts on the new pack? Insert number here. Number of teams. Pack 6, right? More shuffling. Clay?
I love it. Bring back the pack, man. And I feel like it's Cal and Stanford should leave the ACC and go back to the pack. I feel like we should just go back to regional realignment.
We'll eventually end up back there after this.
Yeah, it'll all circle back, I feel like. But yeah, I love it. I love the Pac-12. I love that they only added 4 teams or whatever, and are looking to add more. USF, side note, thinks that they deserve an invite to the Pac-12. Don't know why, but
it'd be nice if
something I saw today
changed teams and they still didn't want the Cows. At Scott 88513, Adam, what % chance would you give UCF to make the playoffs?
1 to 100, I think here, right? 50-50 right now, honestly. I hate to be a Trey Strelko, right? But yeah, I don't know that we know what this conference is like, right? It's very clear this conference hasn't necessarily been a world beater.
Dion is praying for Cam Rising. That's today's breaking news you may have missed.
He also then realized he got trolled and Cam Rising not out for the season, but those prayers still stand. Like, I think this conference is up for grabs. Oklahoma State did look fantastic. Utah didn't look great without Cam Rising. Kansas State almost lost to Tulane. There hasn't been a team yet that I've seen that I'm like, oh my goodness, that's the cream of the crop in the Big 12. So I think it's up for the taking. If UCF and Gus want to go do that, I think they have an opportunity. So I think we have an opportunity to get that Big 12 title opportunity.
Clay, percent chance.
I agree with him, 50-50. And I feel like if we win this TCU game, like you guys were saying, this is an indicator game. We win this TCU game, and then my confidence skyrockets to making the playoffs. Like Adam said, Kansas State, they almost lost to Tulane. They didn't scare me. In fact, they probably should have lost to Tulane. They got lucky on a garbage time fumble and were able to pick up. And Oklahoma State should have lost to Arkansas. In fact, Sam Pittman did everything to lose that game. I feel like Arkansas lost that game more than Oklahoma State won it. So same thing with Utah. Didn't look amazing against Baylor. This conference is wide open. If we can, just execute TCU one game at a time, 100%.
Execute TCU. Yeah.
The correct answer is 5%. There's a 5% chance because Gus is going to Gus, and there's 4 losses on the schedule. Zeebles, UCF. Which would you prefer for a meal, frog legs or a bison burger? I have had both. Give me the bison burger anytime. Clay.
I'm craving a burger right now. Give me the burger.
Adam.
I've had a bison burger, very delicious.
What about frog legs? Have you ever had frog legs?
What about Rocky Mountain oysters?
I've had. They used to sell them at the Rockies games in the outfield. they were like chewy like chicken.
That feels like food poisoning waiting to happen.
And that is how we play the mailbag. But Clay, you're a frequent watcher of this show, week in and week out. You know it is that time. What, Adam, is in the box? Did you bring?
I didn't.
Did you pack
I did
the
not
box?
bring that. I did not pack the box. I did not bring the box with me. But I will tell you, the box though still brought to you by Charlie Hustle. Promo code TEN1215. It's how you get that. But I did have my lovely daughter go into the Charlie Hustle box and pull out the a card for me. So here it is on my phone. I'll read it for you right here. This week's what's in the box. High tech show here, friends. The mic isn't even on, but don't worry about that. If you let a car cut in front of you in traffic, is a wave back required?
Yes.
So car cuts in front of you, and like they got to get in. Like they got to give you one of these, right? They got to turn and acknowledge that you just did the right thing for them, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And can I say, I'll tell you what. Last week I was so mad. Some guy cut me off, and then damn it, UCF license plate. I was so mad, and then I'm like, UCF license plate. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I was stay mad.
What were you going to do?
I don't know.
What were you going to do?
I don't know. I was going to wave something. I was mad.
Wave something? just wave your
What
head.
would
What
Trace have
wave?
done if it weren't a UCF license? What if it was a USF license plate? The cows.
They make those?
They have felt Trace's wrath?
Wrath.
The horn? No?
Are you a middle finger guy? You strike me as a middle finger guy. You strike me as you're very calm, but I know you got a lot on your mind. And you strike me as you're in a Zen moment when you're driving, and someone gets in that Zen moment, and I feel like we're getting middle fingers everywhere, Trace. That's just my take on your
because
drive.
I live in Florida, and I think everybody has a gun. So the answer to that is no. I think everybody's got a gun, and no, absolutely not. No.
That's fair.
Are you a horn honker? You strike me as a horn honker.
I have honked the horn before. You set up the things that are going to be the clips in the damn show, Clay.
I'm not going
UCF women's soccer closes out a 5-0 win over Houston to get their first victory in Big 12 play. We want to thank Coach Lounsbury as well, the host of Locked On Horned Frogs, Stephen, for joining us, Clay for running all of the board for us this week. You've done an excellent job, and Adam on the road in Denver. Everybody, safe travels if you're making your way to Fort Worth. Remember where to find Jeff Allen. I believe it was section 411.
411
DM me if you want to meet up. If you're having Jello shots at your tailgate, invite Robert, 2 letters, 2 words, and myself. We'd like to swing by and say hello. All right, let's get a win on the road at TCU for Clay and Adam. I'm Trace Rolko. Go Knights!
Charge on.
Charge on.
I'm Miles Montgomery from Jacksonville, Florida. I play running back. Thank you for watching the Sons of UCF.
I like that.